The phone vibrating on the granite countertop was a sound I associated with annoyance. A telemarketer, probably. A political poll. I was halfway through brewing my evening tea, enjoying the quiet ritual of retirement, when the caller ID flashed Civic Grace Hospital. My heart didn't stop. It didn't pound. It just seized, a cold, hard fist clamping down in my chest. "This is Caleb Holloway." "Mr. Holloway," a calm, professional female voice said, "this is Dr. Amelia Roth from the emergency department at Civic Grace. Your son, Julian Holloway, was brought in this evening." The tea bag slipped from my fingers, splashing dark water onto the white counter. What happened? Is he okay?" "Your son was in a severe motorcycle accident, Mr. Holloway. He has significant injuries. You need to come to the hospital immediately." I didn't ask another question. I didn't say goodbye. The phone hit the counter and I was already moving. My keys, my wallet. Where were my shoes? I shoved my bare feet into the loafers by the door, grabbed my jacket, and was out in the garage, the engine roaring to life before the door had fully opened. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. The drive to Civic Grace was a non-event. I don't remember the traffic. I don't remember the red lights I must have run. My entire world had compressed into the sterile, antiseptic smell of the emergency room waiting area. "Caleb Holloway," I said to the intake nurse, my voice sounding like gravel. "My son, Julian Holloway." Dr. Roth found me. She was young with tired eyes that had seen too much. She led me to a private consultation room. "Caleb, may I call you Cal? Your son is very, very sick. He was hit by a commercial truck that ran a red light. He has severe cranial trauma, a fractured clavicle, and multiple rib fractures. We've placed him in a medically induced coma to protect his brain from swelling." "A coma," I repeated. The word felt alien. "But he'll wake up, right?" "He's young, he's strong," she said, a practiced, compassionate non-answer. "We are doing everything we can. His neurologist will be the lead on his case. He's being moved to the ICU now. You can see him." Nothing prepares you for it. Nothing. My son, Julian, 32 years old, a brilliant software engineer with a laugh that could fill a stadium. He lay motionless. A tube snaked into his mouth, forcing his chest to rise and fall with a sickeningly regular mechanical hiss. Wires sprouted from his arms, his chest, his head, connecting him to a symphony of monitors that beeped and glowed in the dim light. "Oh, Julian," I whispered. I stumbled into the chair by his bedside and grabbed his hand. It was warm. That was the only thing that felt real. His hand was warm. I sat there for an hour, maybe 2, just staring at the rhythmic pulse on the heart monitor. Then, a thought, sharp and sudden, cut through the fog. "I need to call his wife," I said to the nurse who came in to check his vitals. "I need to call Sylvia." I stepped into the hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I dialed Sylvia's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail. "Sylvia, it's Cal. You need to call me. It's Julian. He's at Civic Grace. He's in a coma. Please, call me as soon as you get this." I went back into the room. I sat. I watched the machines breathe for my son. An hour passed. I called again. Voicemail. I tried again at midnight. This time she picked up on the 5th ring. "Cal?" Her voice was sleepy, annoyed. "Sylvia, thank God. Did you get my message? You have to get down here. Julian's been in a terrible accident. He's at Civic Grace." There was a pause. Not a gasp, not a sob, A long, empty silence. What, what kind of accident? A truck hit his motorcycle. Sylvia, he's in a coma. The doctors. It's bad. It's really bad. You need to be here. Oh my God, she said, but her voice was thin, brittle. A coma, Cal, I can't. What do you mean you can't? He's your husband. I can't see him like that. Her voice suddenly rose, cracking with something that wasn't grief. It sounded defensive. All those tubes, those machines. I'll fall apart, Cal. I need time to process this. I can't. I just can't. Sylvia, he needs you. I need to be strong for when he wakes up, she snapped. I'm going to try and get some sleep. I'll call you in the morning. I need a minute. She hung up. I stood in the sterile hallway, the phone pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. I need time to process this. It felt wrong. It felt cold. But grief, I told myself. Grief makes people strange. My own was a suffocating blanket. I couldn't judge hers. I went back to my son's bedside, pushed the cold excuse from my mind, and took his hand. I'm here, son, I whispered. I'm not leaving. 2 weeks became my new reality. I lost track of time. My world was the drive to the hospital, the bitter coffee from the cafeteria, and the chair by Julian's bed. I read him articles from his favorite tech journals. I recounted stories from his childhood. I talked until my throat was raw. Dr. Martin Bishop, the lead neurologist, became my only other human contact. He was a patient man, sharp and precise. The swelling is decreasing, Cal, he told me on day 10. This is good. It's a very positive sign. His body is responding to the treatment. But when will he wake up? I asked, the same question I asked every day. It's impossible to know, Dr. Bishop said, his expression kind but firm. It could be days. It could be weeks. But there is reason to be hopeful. He's a fighter. Sylvia never came, not once in 14 days. She called once a day, always in the late afternoon. Her calls were short, mechanical. Any change? She'd ask. The swelling is down a bit. The doctor is hopeful. Sylvia, don't you want to see him? I'm just not ready, Cal. I'm devastated. I'm processing. I'm praying for him. I promise, I can't. Her calls grew shorter. The devastation in her voice sounded more like impatience. I tried to ignore the cold knot of suspicion forming in my gut. I was a forensic accountant. For 40 years, my job was to find the lie in the ledger, to see the pattern where others saw random numbers, and the pattern here was all wrong. On the morning of the 15th day, I went home for a quick shower. I hadn't slept in my own bed since the accident. I was walking out of the bathroom, a towel around my waist, when my phone buzzed with a text message. It was from my neighbor, Talia. Talia, Cal, I am so sorry to do this, but I think you need to see this. I'm praying for Julian. Attached was a screenshot. My fingers fumbled as I opened the image. The world tilted. It was Sylvia. She was on a beach, white sand and turquoise water. She was wearing a tiny red bikini, her body glistening. Her arm was wrapped around a man, muscular, tanned, grinning at the camera. I recognized him instantly. Damian Yeager, the personal trainer Julian had hired for them 6 months ago. Sylvia was holding a margarita, smiling brightly, her head tilted against his shoulder. They looked happy. They looked celebratory. I looked at the caption. It was from Sylvia's Instagram posted just 2 hours ago. Living my best life. Sometimes you just have to get away. Blessed Malibu. Sunset Beach. 2 hours ago, day 15. My son was fighting for his life, and his wife was in Malibu with her lover, living her best life. The betrayal wasn't a slow burn. It was an explosion. It vaporized my grief and left behind a core of pure, undiluted rage. This wasn't grief. This wasn't processing. This was a sociopath on vacation. I saved the screenshot. My mind, the forensic accountant's mind, kicked into gear. Document, analyze, act. I was getting dressed, my hands shaking with fury, when my phone rang again. This time, it was Dr. Bishop. "Cal," he said, his voice unusually tight. "You need to get back to the hospital, right now." I broke every speed limit getting back to Civic Grace. I sprinted from the parking garage, my heart hammering against my ribs. Did he wake up? Did he crash? I burst onto the ICU floor and saw Dr. Bishop standing outside his office. He wasn't alone. A woman in an impeccable gray business suit stood beside him, holding a leather briefcase. Her expression was made of ice, and next to her was Sylvia. She was dressed in a conservative black dress, her hair pulled back. Her face was a mask of practiced sorrow. She was even dabbing at her dry eyes with a tissue. The tan from Malibu was unmistakable. "Cal," she said, her voice catching in a perfect fake sob. I came as soon as I could." "You're 2 weeks late," I snapped, my eyes flicking to the icy woman. "Who are you?" "This is Clarissa Vaughn, my attorney," Sylvia said. "Your attorney?" I looked at Dr. Bishop. "What is this? What's going on?" Dr. Bishop looked profoundly uncomfortable. "Cal, why don't we step into my office?" We filed in. I stood. They sat. "Mr. Holloway," the lawyer began, her voice as cold as her suit. "My client, as Julian Holloway's legal wife and holder of his medical power of attorney, has arrived to make a very difficult decision." "What decision?" I said, though the icy dread in my stomach already knew the answer. "After extensive consultation and prayer," Sylvia said, I've decided to honor Julian's wishes. He would never want to live like this. He would never want to be a burden." Clarissa Vaughn opened her briefcase. "My client has the legal authority and is formally requesting the disconnection of Mr. Holloway's life support." The room went silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the computer on Dr. Bishop's desk. "No," I said. My voice was quiet, but it shook the room. "Absolutely not." "Cal, please," Sylvia said, reaching for my arm. I recoiled as if she'd tried to burn me. "You were in Malibu 2 hours ago," I roared, pulling out my phone and shoving the screenshot in her face. "With him, living your best life. You call this grief? You call this a difficult decision?" Sylvia's face went white. The mask of sorrow evaporated, replaced by a flash of pure hatred. Clarissa Vaughn didn't even flinch. "Mr. Holloway, your attempts to harass my client are noted. A person's grief process is personal and complex. My client's location is irrelevant." "It's not irrelevant." I turned to Dr. Bishop. "Doctor, you said he was getting better. You said the swelling was down." Dr. Bishop ran a hand over his face. "Cal, it's true. There are positive signs, but the prognosis is still uncertain. We can't guarantee a full recovery." "Then we wait." I slammed my hand on his desk. "We wait for him to wake up." "That is no longer your decision," the lawyer said smoothly. She placed a thick, notarized document on the desk. "This is a valid medical power of attorney, signed by Julian Holloway 2 years ago, granting his wife, Sylvia, exclusive authority. The hospital is legally obligated to comply with her request." I stared at the document. Julian's signature. He'd done it when they got their mortgage. A standard piece of paperwork. A death warrant. "So that's it?" I said, my voice hoarse. You just let her kill him?" "Cal, my hands are tied," Dr. Bishop said, his voice full of genuine anguish. "Without a court order, I must follow the proxy's directive." How long?" I whispered. "We could proceed today," Vaughn said. "No," Sylvia interjected, her mask of the grieving wife slipping back into place. "No, that's too soon. Cal, as a courtesy, I'm willing to give you 72 hours to say goodbye." 72 hours. I looked at her, this monster in a black dress, and I felt the last trace of my grief vanish, replaced by the cold, clear focus of my old job. "Get out," I said. "Mr. Holloway," Vaughn began. "Get out. Both of you, get out of my sight." They left. I stood facing Dr. Bishop. 72 hours, doctor. She's not getting him. You hear me? I have 72 hours to save my son's life. Don't you let her near him until that clock runs out." I walked out of his office, not to Julian's room, but to the cafeteria. The race had begun. I was no longer a grieving father. I was a forensic accountant on the most important audit of my life. I sat in the corner of the hospital cafeteria, the smell of stale coffee and floor wax filling my lungs. I fired up my laptop, connected to the hospital's public Wi-Fi, and opened my encrypted password manager. Years ago, when Julian bought his first condo, I'd helped him set up his finances. "Dad, this is morbid," he'd laughed. "But just in case something ever happens to me, here's the access to my main accounts. Just, in case." I'd never thought I'd use it. Certainly not like this. I logged into his primary bank portal. Mortgage payments, utilities, credit card bills, everything looked normal, mundane. Then I clicked on his investment portfolio. I had helped him set it up. It was his nest egg. Profits from some stock in his tech startup, combined with disciplined saving. When I'd last seen it 6 months ago, it held just over $400,000. The balance on the screen read 78,214.30. I stopped breathing. My blood ran cold. I clicked on the transaction history. It was a systematic bleed. It started 3 months ago. Small amounts first. $5,000, $10,000. Then the amounts grew. $50,000, $80,000. The last one was for $120,000. It was dated 18 days ago, 3 days before Julian's accident. Over $320,000 vanished. My hands were shaking, but my mind was ice. Follow the money. Each transfer was labeled with a generic, plausible memo. Real estate investment. Down payment. Home renovation. Lies. Julian and Sylvia lived in a condo. They weren't buying real estate. I traced the destination account numbers. They weren't going to a mortgage company or a contractor. They were all going to a single holding account listed under a corporate name. An LLC. This wasn't panic. This was a plan. A cold, calculated liquidation of my son's life savings. Sylvia hadn't just decided to pull the plug when she arrived today. She had been planning this for months. The accident just accelerated her timeline. I felt a surge of adrenaline so potent it made me dizzy. I was no longer on defense. I was on the hunt. I captured screenshots of every transfer. I downloaded every bank statement. I opened a new, encrypted spreadsheet, and my fingers flew across the keyboard, documenting dates, amounts, and destination accounts. I had 71 hours left, and I had just found the motive. The account that had received all the funds was named Griffin Strategic Consulting, LLC. My 40 years of experience screamed at me. A shell company, but it was a good name, plausible, professional. I ran a quick search. Griffin Strategic Consulting. A slick, professional website popped up. Offices in Delaware. A long list of corporate clients. It looked legitimate. Too legitimate. This was Sylvia's first mistake. Or more likely, her partner's. Damien. She wasn't smart enough to set this up herself. They were trying to hide the money in plain sight, routing it through what looked like a real investment firm. I needed to know if this was a real company or just a digital ghost. I looked at the clock. 5 p.m. I had 69 hours. I picked up my phone and called my oldest contact, Arthur Vance, a retired IRS criminal investigator who now ran a private consultancy in Delaware. Arthur, it's Cal Holloway. I need a favor, a big one, and I need it yesterday. Cal. Good to hear your voice, you old bastard. What's the fire? I need you to run a check on a Delaware LLC. Griffin Strategic Consulting. I need to know who the registered agent is, who the principals are, and I need to know if it's real or a shell. I'm sending you the account number now. That's a tall order on no notice, Cal. My son's life is on the line, Arthur. I'm not exaggerating. The line went quiet. Send me the data, he said, all business. I'll call you back. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sit still. I went back to Julian's room and sat in the chair, my laptop open, staring at the spreadsheet as the machines beeped their steady, hypnotic rhythm. I willed my phone to ring. The 72-hour clock was a monster, eating my life 1 minute at a time. I spent the next 24 hours in a hell of inactivity. I paced the ICU hallway. I drank gallons of toxic coffee. I answered the nurse's questions. I stared at Julian, whispering, "Hold on, son. Just hold on. I'm working." Finally, at 6 p.m. the next day, my phone rang. 46 hours left. Cal? Arthur, I have news. You're not going to like it. What is it? Did you find them? I found Griffin. It's real. A massive multi-billion-dollar investment house. They're as legitimate as they come. So the money, it's with them. No, Arthur said. That's the part you're not going to like. I called my contact inside their compliance department. The account number you gave me, it doesn't exist. Not in their system. Not anywhere. It's a phantom. What? I felt the floor drop out. That's impossible, Arthur. I saw the transfers. The money went somewhere. The money went, Cal. But not to Griffin. Whoever set this up is smart. They used a real company's name to create a false trail. They knew you'd look, you'd hit this brick wall, and you'd waste time. I leaned against the hospital wall, the phone heavy in my hand. He was right. I had wasted a full day, a precious, irreplaceable 24 hours chasing a ghost. They're good, I whispered. They're very good, Arthur said. But what, Arthur? But my compliance guy was intrigued. He said routing numbers that look like theirs but aren't are a common feature of a certain kind of high-level fraud. He ran a trace on the routing number itself, not the account. It's not a bank, Cal. It's a digital currency exchange, one of those unregulated offshore ones based in the Caymans. Of course. Classic money laundering. But here's the kicker, Arthur said. My guy called back an hour ago. He said someone else called him this morning, asking about the same account number, from inside the hospital. What? Who? A woman. He said she sounded distraught. Said her name was Sylvia Holloway. She claimed her husband's accounts had been hacked by a company called Griffin and that she was trying to get the money back. I almost dropped the phone. She had called them? It was a brilliant, sociopathic move. She'd created a false trail, and then, knowing I'd find it, she'd called the company herself, posing as a victim, to muddy the waters. If I called them, they'd say, "Oh yes, the wife already called. It's a hacking incident." She was building a cover story in real time. She wasn't just following Damien's plan. She was an active, intelligent partner. "Cal, you still there?" "I'm here, Arthur, thank you. You have no idea what you've done." "Be careful, son," he said, his voice heavy. "These aren't amateurs." I hung up the phone. My frustration vanished, replaced by a cold, lethal fury. She had outplayed me. She had cost me a day. I wouldn't give her another minute. I was done following the money. The trail was too clean, too deliberate. They wanted me to look at the destination, so I would look at the source. I stormed back to the cafeteria, slammed my laptop open, and pulled up Julian's email login. He used the same password for everything, a stupid habit I'd warned him about a dozen times. "Dad, I'm not a spy. Who's going to hack my email?" "Your wife, son," I muttered as I typed it in. "Your goddamn wife." I was in. I scanned his inbox. Nothing. Work emails, spam, newsletters. I checked the sent folder. Nothing, of course. She would have covered her tracks. But Sylvia was arrogant, and arrogance breeds carelessness. I clicked on the trash folder. It was full. Julian, like most people, never emptied his trash. He just deleted things. I scrolled and scrolled, and then I saw it. A thread of emails, not from Sylvia's regular account, but from a cryptic Gmail address, skydancer88@gmail.com. The recipient, iron.gladiator24gmail.com. Sky, Sylvia, Iron. Damien Yeager's Instagram handle was IronD. My blood turned to ice. I clicked the thread. It was from 4 months ago. D. Damien. "How much longer? I'm sick of watching you pretend." S. Sylvia. "Patience, baby. The plan is working. I moved another $50K today. He doesn't suspect a thing. The millionaire nerd is too busy with his code to even check the statements. I handle everything." D. "I just want it to be over. You and me. On that beach." S. Soon. Another few months, we'll have everything, and we can just disappear. He'll just be a bad memory. I felt physically ill. I had to brace myself against the table. The millionaire nerd. My son. Her husband. A bad memory. I kept scrolling, reading message after message. They were planning to bleed him dry, take all $400,000, and then Sylvia would file for divorce, claiming he'd left her. She would play the victim, while she and Damien started a new life in the Caymans with my son's money. I read about their secret meetings, their contempt for Julian, their impatience. S. He wants to go to his parents for Thanksgiving. God, I can't stand another dinner with that nosy old man. He's always watching me. I was watching her. My gut had been right all along. D. Just play the part a little longer. We're almost there. Every word was a knife in my heart. But I wasn't the grieving father right now. I was the chief investigator. I saved every email. I exported the entire thread as a PDF, encrypting the file. This was the conspiracy. But it was still just fraud. It wasn't attempted murder. Until I reached the last email. The last email was from Sylvia. It was dated 11 days ago, 1 week before the accident. S. Baby, change of plans. I found something better. Much, much faster. D. What are you talking about? I thought the plan was to drain the accounts. S. The accounts are slow, and he might notice eventually. But I just activated his new life insurance policy, $600,000. It was part of our mortgage package. He just never finalized the paperwork. I finalized it. D. What are you saying, Sylvia? S. I'm saying $320,000 is good, but $920,000 is better. If something happened to him, we wouldn't have to wait. We'd have everything all at once. D. That's risky, Sil. Very risky. S. The universe gives you opportunities, Damien. You just have to be brave enough to take them. I slammed the laptop shut. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. This was it. This was the motive for murder. A $600,000 life insurance policy, activated 1 week before a random accident. I looked at the clock. 38 hours left. I needed to confirm the policy. I needed proof it was real. I called Rick Shaw. Rick and I had come up together. He'd been an insurance fraud investigator for Monumental Life Assurance for 30 years. We'd traded war stories over poker for decades. He answered on the second ring. Cal, what's up? Don't tell me you're finally ready to cash in that 401k and buy a boat. Rick, I need your help. It's Julian. The humor vanished from his voice. What's wrong? He's in a coma at Civic Grace, motorcycle accident. Oh, Cal. My God, I'm so sorry. What can I do? Anything. I need you to look up a policy. I think his wife, Sylvia, took one out on him without his knowledge. I need to know if it's real. Julian Holloway, Social Security number. I rattled off the numbers. I heard the rapid clack, clack, clack of his keyboard. Okay, yeah, here he is, Julian Holloway. Yep, term life policy, $600,000. My stomach clenched. When, Rick? When was it activated? Another pause, more typing. Jesus, Cal. This policy was finalized 11 days ago. The beneficiary is Sylvia Marlowe Holloway, wife. He didn't sign it, Rick. I know he didn't. The application was digital, Cal, Rick said, his voice grim. It's got a digital signature verification from both spouses. But 11 days ago? And now he's in a coma? This stinks to high heaven. Rick, she's here. At the hospital. She's trying to pull the plug. She has a medical POA, and she's given me a 72-hour deadline. I'm running out of time. She's... What? Rick's voice was sharp. She's trying to collect? Now? Cal, that's not just fraud. If she's the beneficiary and she's the one trying to end his life, that's a conflict of interest from hell. She shouldn't be allowed in the same room as him. Tell that to her lawyer. Rick, I need the paperwork. All of it. Officially. You'll have it in an hour. I'm flagging this file for internal review right now. And Cal, be careful. If what you suspect is true, this woman is a monster. She's a monster, I agreed, and her clock just ran out. I had the motive. I had the conspiracy. I had the 72-hour deadline, and I had 37 hours left on it. This was no longer a one-man operation. I was a numbers guy. I needed a shark. I called Jackie Croft. Jackie was the sharpest, meanest, and most effective litigator in Hartford. We'd served on a charity board together, and I'd watched her tear apart an opposing counsel who tried to cheat the foundation out of a donation. She was brilliant, and she didn't tolerate bullies. She answered immediately. Cal, what's wrong? You never call me. Jackie, it's my son, Julian. He's in a coma at Civic Grace, and his wife is trying to kill him. I need your help, now. Where are you? She asked, no hesitation. It's the hospital cafeteria. I'll be at the 24-hour diner across the street in 10 minutes. Bring everything. I packed up my laptop, the printed bank statements, the exported email thread, and the insurance policy Rick had just emailed me. I walked across the street, the cool night air hitting my face for the first time in days. Jackie was already in a booth, a black coffee in front of her. She looked fresh, sharp, and ready for war. For 20 minutes, I laid it all out. The accident, Sylvia's absence, the Malibu photo, the 72-hour ultimatum, the drained $320,000, the false Griffin lid, the emails, the millionaire nerd, the $600,000 policy. She listened without a word, her pen flying across a yellow legal pad. When I finished, I was breathing heavily, the adrenaline and exhaustion crashing over me. She capped her pen and looked me straight in the eye. Cal, this isn't a family dispute. This is a multi-state conspiracy to commit capital murder for financial gain. That woman isn't a grieving wife. She's a predator. And your son is her prey. And she's the one with the legal power of attorney, I said, the despair creeping back in. I have 36 hours before she can legally order the hospital to kill him. Jackie smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile a shark gives before it bites. No, she can't, Jackie said. She was already pulling her laptop from her briefcase. She thinks she can. Her lawyer thinks she can, but they're wrong. She began typing, her fingers a blur. The medical power of attorney gives her authority to act in her husband's best interest. The moment she became the beneficiary of a brand new $500,000 insurance policy, her financial interests became directly opposed to his survival. That's a textbook conflict of interest. But how do we stop it in time? We don't stop it. We neutralize it. She hit a few keys. I'm filing an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Sylvia Holloway and Civic Grace Hospital, to be heard first thing tomorrow morning. We are petitioning the court to strip Sylvia of her medical proxy status, citing overwhelming evidence of bad faith and criminal intent. Will a judge even see us that fast? Judge Eleanor Hemlock is on the emergency docket this week. She's tough, but she's fair. And she hates being lied to. And that lawyer, Clarissa Vaughn, she's good, but she's arrogant. She's not expecting this. She's expecting a grieving father to roll over. She's not expecting you, and she's not expecting me. She snapped her laptop shut. Go back to the hospital, Cal. Sit outside your son's room. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, in that room except for medical staff. I'll call you as soon as I have the hearing time. Go, and get some rest. Tomorrow, we go to war. The hearing was set for 9:30 a.m. I hadn't slept. I sat in a hard plastic chair outside Julian's ICU room all night, watching the door like a hawk. I arrived at the courthouse in the same clothes I'd been wearing for 2 days, wrinkled and stained with cafeteria coffee. I didn't care. Jackie was already there, looking like $1,000,000 in a razor-sharp navy suit, organizing 3 thick binders on the plaintiff's table. At 8:58 a.m., Sylvia and Clarissa Vaughn walked in. Sylvia was back in her grieving widow black, a string of pearls at her throat. She saw me and her eyes narrowed, her mask of sorrow momentarily replaced by annoyance. She hadn't expected this. Her lawyer, however, looked furious. She strode to the defendant's table and threw her briefcase down. This is an outrageous, frivolous abuse of the court's time, Ms. Croft. Save it for the judge, counselor, Jackie said without looking up. All rise. Judge Eleanor Hemlock swept in, a formidable woman in her 60s with a no-nonsense aura. She sat and put on her glasses. Good morning. I've reviewed the emergency filing. Holloway vs. Holloway. Ms. Croft, you are alleging your client's daughter-in-law, the legal medical proxy, is acting in bad faith. That is an extraordinary claim. The bar for removing a proxy is extremely high. You'd better have more than a family squabble. I do, Your Honor, Jackie said, standing. I have 320,000 reasons. And 600,000 more. Jackie was magnificent. She was a surgeon. She didn't shout. she dissected. Your Honor, we have bank records showing that in the 3 months leading up to the accident, Mrs. Holloway systematically drained $320,000 from her husband's investment accounts. Here are the statements. She placed a binder in front of the judge. We have email correspondence between Mrs. Holloway and a third party, a Mr. Damian Yeager, with whom she is romantically involved, discussing their plan to disappear with the money and referring to her comatose husband as the millionaire nerd, who will soon be a bad memory. Here are the emails. A second binder. Clarissa Vaughn shot a white-hot glare at Sylvia, who was starting to look pale. And, Your Honor, Jackie continued, we have this. Documentation for a $600,000 life insurance policy, naming Sylvia Holloway as the sole beneficiary, that was digitally signed and activated just 11 days ago. 1 week before the accident. She placed the third binder. Mrs. Holloway is not a grieving wife making a difficult decision. She is a compromised party with a direct $600,000 financial incentive to ensure my client's son does not wake up. She cannot, by any definition of the law, be allowed to act in his best interest. We request an immediate temporary restraining order, stripping her of all medical authority. Vaughn shot to her feet. Objection! This is character assassination. These are unproven allegations. The money transfers were for joint investments. The emails are taken out of context, and the insurance policy was a normal part of their marital financial planning. Judge Hemlock held up a hand. Be seated, counselor. She looked at Jackie. This is deeply disturbing, but it's circumstantial. Then I have one final exhibit, Your Honor, Jackie said, pulling a single sheet of paper from her folder. This was posted to Mrs. Holloway's public Instagram account yesterday morning, 15 days into her husband's coma, while she was, in her lawyer's words, processing her grief. She handed the judge my phone with the screenshot, the Malibu photo. Judge Hemlock stared at the picture, the smiling faces, the bikini, the margarita, the caption, "Living my best life." She slowly took off her glasses and looked at Sylvia. Her eyes were chips of ice. Mrs. Holloway, the judge said, her voice dangerously quiet. So were you in Malibu, California yesterday? Sylvia's face crumpled. Your Honor, I couldn't handle the stress. I had to get away. That is not what I asked. Were you? Yes, Sylvia whispered. I see. Judge Hemlock turned to Clarissa Vaughn. Counselor, you are dangerously close to misrepresenting your client to this court. Your client's personal grief process appears to be a beach party. She slammed her gavel. Temporary restraining order is granted. Sylvia Holloway is hereby barred from making any medical decisions for Julian Holloway. Medical authority is temporarily transferred to his father, Caleb Holloway, pending a full investigation. This court will reconvene in 30 days. And Mrs. Holloway, the judge added, I would advise you not to leave the state. We won. I stumbled out into the hallway, dizzy with relief. We had 30 days. Julian was safe. Thank you, Jackie, I breathed. You saved his life. We bought him time, Cal, she said, packing her binders. That's all. We didn't prove she tried to kill him. We just proved she's a greedy adulterer. The DA won't touch this as a criminal case. Not yet. We have 30 days to find the smoking gun. We have to prove she caused the accident. Just then, Sylvia and her lawyer burst through the courtroom doors. Vaughn was whispering furiously to her client. Sylvia wasn't listening. Her eyes found mine across the hall. The mask of the victim was gone. The fake tears were gone. All I saw was pure, cold, reptilian rage. It was the look of a predator whose meal had just been stolen. Jackie saw it too. "Cal," she said, her voice low. "Go home, get some sleep, and lock your doors. This just got real. I'm hiring a PI." Jackie's PI was a man named Mitch Drake. He was a former state police detective, a guy who looked like he hadn't smiled since 1995. He was perfect. "Mr. Holloway, Ms. Croft," he said, meeting us at Jackie's office the next morning. He didn't shake hands, he just opened a notebook. "Here's the situation. The wife and her boyfriend, Damian Yeager, are sloppy. They're arrogant. They think they're smarter than everyone. That's how we catch them." "We're on a 30-day clock, Mitch," Jackie said. "We need proof she caused this accident, not just motive, means, and opportunity." "Understood." Mitch stood up. "I'm going to the impound lot to look at the bike. Then I'm going to Mr. Holloway's condo to pull security footage." "My son's condo," I corrected. "Right." Mitch nodded. "This Yeager, he's a personal trainer, arrogant but probably not a criminal mastermind. He'll have made a mistake. I'll find it." Mitch was a man of his word. He called me 24 hours later. "Mr. Holloway, are you sitting down?" "I'm at the hospital, Mitch. What do you have?" I went to the lot. "The bike's a mess, but I brought a forensic mechanic with me, not one of the cops. We went over it inch by inch. The cops at the scene ruled it an accident. They were wrong." My heart hammered. "What? What did you find?" "The front brake cable," Mitch said, his voice flat. "It didn't snap from impact. It was filed down, shaved to be precise, intentionally weakened so that the first time your son really needed to brake hard, it would fail." I sank into the hard plastic chair. "Sabotage." "Attempted murder," Mitch corrected. "The mechanic took high-resolution photos. He's signing a sworn affidavit as we speak. This is the smoking gun, Mr. Holloway." I couldn't breathe. They filed his brakes." "They did," Mitch said. "And I know when. I just came from your son's condo." "What did you find?" "I pulled the security footage from the parking garage for the week leading up to the accident. Guess who shows up 2 nights before the crash? 2:17 a.m. "Sylvia," I whispered. "Sylvia. And she's not alone. She uses her key fob to let Damian Yeager into the garage. The camera in the corner, it's not great, but it's clear enough. It catches them walking over to your son's reserved parking spot, right where he kept the motorcycle." My God. "They're in that corner, out of direct view of that camera for 47 minutes, Mitch continued. "Then they walk out, laughing. She lets him out the side door. 2 nights later, your son is in a coma." "So we have it," I said, a wave of dark triumph washing over me. "We have the opportunity and the means." "We have more," Mitch said. "I found the night guard who was on duty, a guy named Sal. Sal didn't see anything. Not until I mentioned that his own logbook showed him doing a patrol at 2:30 a.m., right past that spot, and that I'd hate for him to be an accessory to attempted murder." "Did he talk?" "He sang. Said Sylvia came to him the next day, gave him $5,000 in cash. Said he must have been on his break and to forget he saw her or her cousin in the garage. He's terrified. He's willing to testify in exchange for immunity." This was it. The case was locked. "Mitch, you're a genius," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm just thorough, Mr. Holloway. They're amateurs. They left a trail a mile wide. The affidavit from the mechanic. The hard drive with the original time-stamped security footage. A written, signed statement from the night guard. It's an ironclad package. The DA will be tripping over himself to file charges. What's next? I'm compiling the evidence package now. I'm bringing it all to Jackie's office first thing in the morning. She can file it with the DA and the judge by noon. This will be over by tomorrow. I hung up and went into Julian's room. I took his hand. We got her, son, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. We got the monster. You're safe. I promise. I went home that night for the first time in weeks, feeling a profound, exhausted sense of relief. The war was over. I was wrong. I was in my kitchen making coffee the next morning when my phone rang. It was Mitch. His voice was not the calm, flat monotone from yesterday. It was raw. Cal, they got it. Mitch? What are you talking about? Got what? My office. Someone broke in last night. They trashed the place. But it wasn't a random burglary. The coffee mug slipped, but I caught it. What did they take, Mitch? They were professionals, Cal. They didn't take the computers. They didn't take the petty cash. They took one thing, the Holloway file, the entire physical file. No, I whispered. No, Mitch. The mechanic's original, signed affidavit. Gone. The hard drive with the security footage. Gone. The night guard's original statement. Gone. But you have copies, right? I pleaded. The footage. It's in the cloud, right? The condo system is ancient. It's a closed-loop DVR. The hard drive was the original. I made a digital copy, but it's grainy as hell. Without the original drive, Vaughn will argue it was tampered with, that it's not clear. The affidavit, I can get the mechanic to sign another one, but it'll look like he was coerced. And Sal, the night guard, what about him? He called me 5 minutes ago, crying, said someone visited him last night. A big guy, Damien, put his head through a car window. Sal's packing his car. He's leaving the state. He's terrified. He won't testify. He's gone. I sank into a kitchen chair. It was all gone. Our ironclad case. Evaporated in one night. They knew, Mitch, I said, my mind racing. How did they know? How did they know you had the evidence? Damien, Mitch said, his voice tight with fury. He must have been watching me. He saw me at the condo. He saw me at the impound lot. He's not just muscle. He's smart. He waited until I had it all in one place, and he struck. So what do we do? We're back to square one, Cal. We're back to a circumstantial case. We have the money. We have the emails. But we have no proof of the act of attempted murder. Vaughn will tear us apart in court. She'll say the brake line snapped in the crash. She'll say the night guard is an unreliable, disgruntled employee. We lost it, Cal. We lost the leverage. I hung up the phone in a daze. We were 20 days into our 30-day window. We had just lost our entire case. Sylvia had won. Again. I was about to call Jackie and tell her the news when I heard a sound. A crash. It came from the back of the house. My kitchen. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a brass lamp, and crept down the hall. My heart was in my throat. Damien. He's here. I rounded the corner into the kitchen. The sliding glass door to the patio was shattered. Glass was everywhere. And in the middle of the floor, on my kitchen tile, was a brick. There was a piece of paper wrapped around it, held by a rubber band. My hands trembled as I unwrapped it. It wasn't a typed note. It was letters, cut from magazines. Stop digging, old man, or your son won't be the only Holloway in the hospital. Last warning. I called 911. A patrol car came. 2 young officers took my statement. They bagged the brick. Any idea who might have done this, Mr. Holloway? the older one asked, his notebook out. Yes, my daughter-in-law, Sylvia Holloway, and her boyfriend, Damien Yeager. The cop stopped writing. Your daughter-in-law? She's trying to murder my son. I have a restraining order against her. This is witness intimidation. The two cops exchanged a look, the crazy old man look. Sir, that's a very serious allegation. It's a very serious situation. She sabotaged his motorcycle. She stole $320,000 from him. She tried to pull the plug on him to collect $600,000 in insurance. Right, the cop said, writing slowly. Well, we'll file this report, Mr. Holloway. We'll, look into it. In the meantime, maybe get a new pane of glass for that door and an alarm system. They left. They weren't going to do anything. I was on my own. I called Jackie. I told her everything. The break-in at Mitch's office, the stolen evidence, the brick through my window. There was a long silence on the line. Jackie, are you there? I'm here, Cal, she said. Her voice was cold, colder than I'd ever heard it. They've escalated. This isn't just a legal fight anymore. This is a street fight. They're not afraid to use violence. First on Julian, now on Mitch, now on you. So what do we do? I said, the despair overwhelming me. We have nothing, Jackie. We have 10 days left. We have no case. We have nothing. We're not back to square one, Cal, she said, her voice hardening. We're in the end game. What are you talking about? We lost the proof. We lost the physical proof, she corrected. We can't prove the act. So we have to pivot. We have to stop trying to prove what they did, and we have to get them to confess to what they intended. A confession? Sylvia? She'll never confess. Not with that lawyer of hers. She will, Jackie said. She will if the bait is right. She's greedy, and she's arrogant. She thinks she's won. She thinks she just destroyed our case. That's when predators get sloppy. A trap, I said. You want to set a trap. It's all we have left, Cal. We have to set a trap so perfect that she walks right into it. We have to make her incriminate herself, on tape. It's our only path. I looked at the brick on my counter, at the shattered glass. Okay, I said. What do we need to do? We need bait, Jackie said. And right now, we don't have any. It was day 23. I was back at the hospital, sitting in the hallway, nursing a cold coffee and a defeated heart. We had 7 days left. Jackie and I had been brainstorming for 48 hours and had nothing. How do you trap a shark? My phone rang. It was Dr. Bishop's extension. Cal, he said. His voice was different. I need you to come to Julian's room, right now. My heart stopped. What's wrong? Did he crash? Just get here, Cal. Now! I ran. I sprinted down the hall, my loafers slipping on the polished floor. I burst through the door to the ICU room. Dr. Bishop was standing by the bed. A nurse was adjusting the pillows, and Julian was sitting up. His eyes were open. They were groggy. They were confused. But they were open, and they were looking right at me. Dad? His voice was a raw, dry croak. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I collapsed into the chair by his bed, grabbing his hand, sobbing. Julian, oh my God, Julian, you're back. Dad, what happened? He whispered, his eyes struggling to focus. My head, where's Sylvia? The question hit me like a bucket of ice water. Dad, where is she? Is she okay? Dr. Bishop put a hand on my shoulder. Cal, gently. He's just woken up. His memory will be fragmented. He's been through a massive trauma. I know, doctor, I said, my voice thick. I wiped the tears from my face, my resolve hardening. But he needs to know. He needs to be safe. I looked at my son, his beautiful, living, breathing son. Julian, I said, my voice shaking. You were in an accident. You've been in a coma for 23 days. 23 days? He tried to process it. The truck. It ran the light. I remember. I hit the brakes. His eyes widened. Dad, my brakes. They didn't work. I know, son, I said. It wasn't an accident, Julian. What? Dr. Bishop stepped forward. Cal, this is too much. He needs to rest, not be stressed. He needs to know who tried to kill him, doctor, I snapped. I turned back to Julian. Son, Sylvia, she's not who you thought she was. For the next hour, with Dr. Bishop reluctantly monitoring Julian's vitals, I told him everything. Sylvia's absence, the Malibu photo with Damien, the 72-hour ultimatum to pull the plug, the $320,000 she stole, the emails, the millionaire nerd, the $600,000 life insurance policy. His face went through a storm of emotions, confusion, disbelief, denial. No, Dad, no, she wouldn't. She loves me. Then I told him about the brakes. Mitch, the PI, found it, Julian. The filed brake line. We had the proof. We had the security footage of her and Damien in the garage, at your bike 2 nights before the crash. And they stole it. They broke into the PI's office. They threatened me. Julian, she tried to murder you. Julian stared at the white hospital blanket. He was silent for a long, long time. The only sound was the steady, real beep of his heart monitor. He was processing 23 lost days. He was processing 2 years of a marriage that was a lie. He was processing a betrayal so profound it was almost unimaginable. When he finally looked up, the confusion was gone. The hurt was there, deep and cold. But underneath it was a fire. A cold, hard resolve I recognized. It was my resolve. She was going to let me die, he whispered. She was going to make you die, I corrected gently. He clenched his fist. All this time, I thought we were building a life. He shook his head, not in denial anymore, but in a slow, dawning rage. She's not going to get away with this, he said, his voice stronger. Julian, you don't have to worry about this now. You just need to rest, to heal. No. He looked at me, his eyes sharp and clear. You saved my life, Dad. You did all this while I was God. You saved me. Now we finish this. Together. I felt a surge of pride so powerful it almost knocked me over. Okay, son, I said. Okay, let's finish this. I pulled out my phone. I stepped into the hallway. Jackie, I've got our bait. Jackie's new plan was simple. It was brutal. It was perfect. We had one crucial advantage. Nobody outside of this room knew Julian was awake. Jackie met with Dr. Bishop and the hospital's legal team. The situation was explained. The hospital, now facing massive liability and realizing they had almost been tricked into facilitating a homicide, agreed to cooperate fully. Julian's chart would still list him as unresponsive, comatose. The ICU nurses on the floor would be briefed. To the outside world, Julian Holloway was still an unconscious man with a 7-day clock running out. Jackie picked up her phone. Time to go fishing. She dialed Clarissa Vaughn. I was in her office, listening on speakerphone. Ms. Vaughn, Jacqueline Croft, returning your call. I have an update on the Holloway matter. Jackie pitched her voice down, adding a layer of exhaustion and defeat. Ms. Croft, I'm glad you've come to your senses. My client is prepared to file for damages if this harassment continues. That won't be necessary, Jackie sighed. My client, Mr. Holloway, he's broken. He has spent the last few days in consultation with the doctors. Dr. Bishop has been very clear that there is no reasonable hope for his son's recovery. I see, Vaughn said, her voice sharp and alert. Are you saying he's going to withdraw his objection? Not exactly, Jackie said. He's a father. He's struggling. But he's ready to let his son go. He's ready to withdraw the restraining order. But he has conditions. There was a silence on the other end. Vaughn was suspicious. This was too easy. What conditions? She asked, her voice wary. They're non-negotiable, Jackie said firmly. First, Mr. Holloway is a forensic accountant. He is obsessed with the money. He demands a full and complete audit of all of Julian's assets before he withdraws the order. He wants to know exactly what his son's estate is worth. That's irregular, Vaughn said. He doesn't care, Jackie snapped. Second, he wants your client, Mrs. Holloway, to sign a full, binding legal waiver to any and all proceeds from the $600,000 monumental life insurance policy. He's convinced she's just after the money. This is his pound of flesh. He gets the estate, she gets nothing. Absolutely not, Vaughn said. That policy is legally hers. Then the order stands, Jackie said, and we'll see you in court in 7 days. And I'll be subpoenaing Mr. Damian Yeager and your client's travel records from 15 days ago. I'm sure she'll love that. Another pause. Vaughn was calculating. This was a trap, but not the one she thought. Jackie was offering a trade, the insurance money for the rest of the money. Sylvia had already stolen $320,000. She thought that money was safe in the Caymans. If she fought, she might lose it all in a discovery process. If she agreed, she'd lose the $600K, but she'd secure the $320K, and most importantly, Julian would be gone. There would be no one left to testify against her. What's the third condition? Vaughn asked. A final meeting, Jackie said. A face-to-face? Your client, my client, your office, my office. He says he needs to make peace, to look her in the eye and say goodbye. It's emotional, irrational. But it's his condition. Vaughn was silent for a full minute. He agrees to sign the withdrawal in your presence at this meeting? Yes, Jackie said. And he wants the insurance waiver signed there as well? Yes. I'll consult with my client, Vaughn said. I'll be in touch. The call ended. I looked at Jackie. You think she'll take it? She's a gambler who thinks she has a royal flush, Jackie said, smiling. She just destroyed our case. She thinks you're a broken old man. She'll sign away $600,000 she might get to protect the $320,000 she already has. And to get rid of the only witness, she'll take the deal. 2 hours later, Vaughn called back. The meeting is on, tomorrow, 2 p.m., your office. Mitch Drake, who had been simmering with rage since the break-in, personally wired Jackie's conference room. This wasn't going to be grainy, inadmissible footage. He installed 3 high-definition 4K cameras, one on Sylvia, one on Cal, one wide-angle. The microphones were broadcast quality, hidden in the floral arrangement on the table. This room is now more secure than a network studio, Mitch growled. You'll be able to see the pores on her face when she lies. The plan was set. Julian was our ace in the hole. Jackie had briefed him. Julian, this is not a family reunion. This is a legal proceeding. You cannot, under any circumstances, reveal yourself until I give the signal. She has to incriminate herself first. Do you understand?" "I understand," Julian said. His voice was steady. The next day, at 1 p.m., a private ambulance, paid for by Jackie, transported Julian to her office building. He was brought up in a freight elevator, a portable heart monitor beeping quietly on his gurney. He was weak, but his eyes were steel. He was placed in Jackie's private office, which adjoined the conference room via a one-way mirror. He could see in. They could not see him. At 1:50 p.m. I arrived. I sat at the long, polished mahogany table. Jackie sat beside me, stacks of legal documents in front of her. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid the microphones would pick it up. "You ready, Cal?" Jackie asked quietly. "I'm ready to end this," I said. At 2 p.m. on the dot, the door opened. Sylvia walked in, followed by Clarissa Vaughn. Sylvia was in her element. She was dressed in her compassionate widow black. Her face was set in a mask of profound, tragic sympathy. She looked at me, her eyes glistening with fake tears. "Cal," she said, her voice soft. "Thank you for this. I know this is so hard, but it's the right thing. For him." I just stared at her. I couldn't speak. We all sat. Jackie, all business, pushed a stack of papers toward Vaughn. "As discussed, this is the waiver for the monumental life policy to be signed by Mrs. Holloway. And this," she tapped a second document, "is Mr. Holloway's withdrawal of the restraining order, which he will sign once the waiver is complete." Vaughn reviewed the documents meticulously. "It all seems to be in order." She slid the waiver to Sylvia. "Go ahead, dear." Sylvia picked up the pen, her hand not even trembling. She signed her name with a flourish, giving up $600,000. "There," she said, pushing it back. "It's done. I never wanted the money, Cal. I only ever wanted what was best for Julian." The lie was so profound, so effortless, it made my stomach turn. "Thank you, Mrs. Holloway," Jackie said, her voice dangerously smooth. "Mr. Holloway, before you sign, is there anything you'd like to say?" This was my cue. I looked across the table at the woman who had tried to destroy my family. "Yes," I said, my voice thick. I have to know why." Sylvia blinked. "Why? Cal, I don't understand." "Why wasn't he enough?" I said, letting the real pain, the real grief flood my voice. "My son. He loved you. He gave you everything. Why did you do it?" "Cal, this isn't appropriate," Vaughn started to say. "It's a simple question," I snapped. "My son is about to die. I'm agreeing to let him go. Don't I deserve to know why his wife is so eager to see him gone? Was it the money? Was it Damien?" Sylvia composed herself. She manufactured a perfect single tear that rolled down her cheek. "Oh, Cal," she whispered. It's not like that. I'm doing this for him. Because I love him. I don't want him to suffer. I know he wouldn't want to live like this, connected to machines. It's what he would have wanted." "Is it?" I said, my voice dropping. "Is it really what he would have wanted? Or is it what you wanted? All that money. The $320,000 you stole. The insurance." "That's enough," Vaughn shouted, standing up. "This is harassment. These accusations are baseless. We are leaving." "I don't think so," Jackie said, her voice ringing out in the suddenly silent room. And the door to the conference room opened. Julian walked in. He was pale. He was in hospital pajamas and a robe. He was leaning on a nurse. But he was alive. He was standing. He was breathing. The effect was chemical. Clarissa Vaughn's jaw dropped. Her face, for the first time, was a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. Sylvia just shattered. The color drained from her face, leaving her Malibu tan a sick, yellowish gray. Her mouth opened in a silent, agonizing "oh." Her eyes widened in a terror so profound, so absolute, it was inhuman. "Hello, Sylvia," Julian said. His voice was quiet, but it filled the room. Sylvia made a sound, a high-pitched, strangled gasp. "No," she whispered. "No, you can't. I saw you. You're in a coma." "I was," Julian said, taking a slow, painful step toward the table. "I woke up, Sylvia, 72 hours ago. Dad told me everything." This is a trick," Vaughn stammered, recovering first. "A deception, a legal sham." "This is justice," Jackie said calmly, tapping the floral arrangement. "And every word spoken in this room, including your client's agreement to these terms, has been recorded in high-definition video and audio." Sylvia finally found her voice. It was a shriek, a raw, animal sound of pure panic. No, Julian! Baby, listen to me. It's not true. Whatever he told you, it's lies." "Is it a lie?" Julian said, his voice cracking with a pain that was 100% real. "Is the $320,000 a lie? Are the emails a lie? Is the millionaire nerd a lie, Sylvia?" She was shaking, her eyes darting from Julian to me to her lawyer. "I can explain. The emails, they were taken out of context. Damien, he was just a friend. He was pressuring me." "A friend," I said, my voice like gravel. "A friend who helps you file down your husband's brake lines in a garage at 2 a.m.? "No," Sylvia screamed. The mask was gone. This was the real Sylvia, a cornered, terrified animal. "No, it wasn't my idea. It was Damien. It was all Damien. He planned it. The brakes were his idea. I swear, I just wanted the money. I never wanted him to die. He planned it, not me." The conference room was silent. Sylvia was sobbing, hysterical, having just confessed to conspiracy, fraud, and her knowledge of the attempted murder. Clarissa Vaughn had her head in her hands. She knew it was over. Julian just stared at his wife, his face a mask of cold, heartbreaking acceptance. "You just wanted the money," he repeated softly. The conference room door opened again. This time it wasn't a nurse. It was 2 HPD detectives, in suits, badges on their belts. Mitch Drake stood right behind them, a grim, satisfied look on his face. "Sylvia Holloway?" the lead detective said, his voice booming in the small room. Sylvia's head snapped up, her face a mess of tears and mascara. "You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted felony murder, and insurance fraud." No. You can't. I didn't." "You have the right to remain silent," the detective continued, pulling her hands behind her back as she began to struggle. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." "Clarissa," Sylvia shrieked as the handcuffs clicked shut. "Do something. Tell them. It was Damien. Tell them." Clarissa Vaughn stood up slowly, all the fight gone. "My client will be making no further statements." As the detectives led her out, a sobbing, hyperventilating wreck, her eyes met mine one last time. In that look, I saw it. The final, crushing understanding. She hadn't just been beaten by her husband waking up. She had been beaten by the nosy old man. I walked over to my son and put my arm around his shoulders. It's over, Julian, I said. He leaned against me, his entire body trembling. It's over, Dad. The trial was a formality, a legal execution. The district attorney, who had been hesitant to touch the case with only circumstantial evidence, now had an embarrassment of riches. He had the financial trail, he had the emails, and he had a 4K broadcast quality video of Sylvia Holloway, in the presence of her own attorney, confessing to her knowledge of and participation in the entire conspiracy. Damian Yeager was arrested an hour after Sylvia, trying to flee his apartment with a suitcase full of cash. Faced with Sylvia's videotaped confession, which pinned the actual sabotage on him, he tried to cut a deal. He claimed Sylvia was the mastermind who had manipulated him with sex and money. It didn't matter. They both turned on each other, and the jury hated them both. Clarissa Vaughn's defense was that her client was the victim of an elaborate, illegal entrapment. The judge didn't buy it. The confession was ruled admissible. The jury was out for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts: attempted murder, conspiracy, insurance fraud, grand larceny. When the verdict was read, Sylvia, who had been sitting stone-faced through the trial, simply collapsed. A low, keening wail that filled the courtroom. It wasn't a sound of remorse. It was the sound of surprise. She genuinely believed, until that very second, that she was going to get away with it. The sentencing was 2 weeks later. Judge Hemlock, the same judge who had granted our TRO, presided. She was not merciful. "Sylvia Holloway," she said, her voice ringing with contempt. "You are a black hole of greed. You didn't just try to kill your husband. You tried to do it twice. First, by sabotage, and when that failed, by manipulating the medical system to have a doctor finish the job. You betrayed every vow, every trust, for money. You are a disgrace." She sentenced Sylvia to 25 years in federal prison. "As for you, Mr. Yeager," she said, turning to Damian, "you were the weapon. You may have been manipulated, but you were a willing participant. You will serve 15 years. As they were led away in chains, Sylvia was still sobbing. Damian just looked stunned. It was done. The months that followed were about rebuilding. Not a house, but a life. Julian's physical recovery was remarkable. The doctors called it miraculous. He was young, he was strong, and he was a fighter. But the body is easier to mend than the soul. The betrayal left deep, septic wounds. "How did I not see it, Dad?" he asked me one night. We were on my patio, grilling steaks. 2 years. 2 years of my life, and it was all a lie. Every "I love you," every dinner, every night. It was all fake. "You're not blind for trusting someone, Julian," I said, turning the meat. "You're human. You loved her. That was real. Your part was real. She's the fake. She's the empty one, not you." He started therapy. He had to learn to process not just the attempt on his life, but the gaslighting, the manipulation, the sheer, profound depth of the lie he had been living. There were good days. There were bad days. But slowly, the good began to outnumber the bad. Jackie and I went to work on the finances. With Sylvia's conviction, we were able to file a civil suit. We froze the offshore accounts. The Cayman's Bank, faced with a criminal conviction for fraud, repatriated the money. We recovered $280,000 of the $320,000. The rest had been spent on their lavish lifestyle. The Malibu trips, the gifts, the down payment on a sports car for Damian. "I don't want it, Dad," Julian said, looking at the cashier's check. "It feels dirty." "It's your money, son. You earned it." "No," he said, a new kind of determination in his eyes. but I know what to do with it. I want to help people like me, people who are being scammed by the person they love, people who don't have a forensic accountant for a father to save them. And so, the Holloway Foundation was born. We started it with that $280,000. Our mission: to provide pro bono forensic accounting and legal aid to victims of spousal financial fraud. I came out of retirement. I became the Foundation's chief investigator. It was the best job I ever had. A year passed. Julian was whole again. He was back at his job, and he was on the board of the Foundation. He was dating again, cautiously, wisely, but he was open to life. He was not letting her take that from him, too. I was in my office at the Foundation when a letter arrived. It was from the Federal Correctional Facility in Texas where Sylvia was incarcerated. It was a letter from her. She had requested permission to write to me. I opened it. It was full of words, remorse, God, forgiveness. She said she prayed for me and Julian every day. She said she finally understood the harm she had caused. She was sorry. I read the first page, then I stopped. I walked over to the paper shredder and fed the letter into it. Her repentance, real or fake, was not my business. It was between her and her God. My son was alive. That was all that mattered. This afternoon, I'm not at the office. Julian and I are in a small rented boat on Lake Candlewood. It's the same lake I taught him to fish on when he was 8 years old. The water is like glass, reflecting a perfect, cloudless sky. We haven't said much. We just exist. Father and son. The quiet splash of the lures hitting the water. The cry of a distant hawk. Julian gets a bite. He reels in a small, glittering base. He expertly removes the hook, admires the fish for a moment, and then gently releases it back into the water. "Why'd you let him go?" I ask. "Because he deserves to live," Julian says simply, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Just like I do." He looks at me, his eyes clear and bright. The shadows are gone. "I love you, Dad," he says. "I love you, son," I reply, my throat tight. We sit there in the warm sun, our lines in the water. Justice isn't just about punishing the guilty. It's about protecting the innocent. It's about giving them a chance to heal, to live, to fish on a perfect afternoon. My son is alive, and he is free. And in this moment, that is more than enough. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.